Welcome to Marauders issue number 12. Because up to this point, Captain Pryde, the captain of the Marauders, searched across 2 billion years of history in order to solve a puzzle box. An ancient puzzle box that started the oldest civilization of mutants, which so happens to have her handwriting written on the side. For this relic of the past was created in the present by the most unique mutant circuit in history. And the way she did it was by assembling her crew in Geonosia, which was the site of the largest massacre in history as well as the place where her father died, to create said puzzle box and give birth to the oldest mutant society. So with all the pieces in place, this issue opens with Fong and Brimstone going back and forth, just beating the crap out of each other. But curiously enough, Johnny D was sitting off on the side watching it all play out, for the squid on his chest was Team Love, and as for himself, he was Team Fong. So while that fight plays out, we jump over to Hammer Bay, where we see Polaris hard at work creating a Mysterium box, which is the seed from which all of Threshold will come. For on this day, Polaris just nonchalantly handed Thea her most holiest of artifacts, which is kind of a big deal. In fact, it's such a big deal, Thea was currently feeling extremely overwhelmed, because the reason why they even came here was to find aid or to at least tell the story of her people. But never in her wildest dreams did she believe she would be present and key to the creation of Threshold. So while all that is going on, we skip over to Captain Pryde talking to her father, just trying to catch up with old times, just trying to fill him in on the time that he missed. But the only problem she has is trying to figure out where to start, which her father suggested starting at the beginning, following his death, for that was the last thing he remembers. So together both Kate and her father shared a heartfelt moment as they relived his untimely death. For his last words he spoke to his daughter was, "I love you, Kitty. Make me proud," which was something our Kitty was trying to accomplish every second of every day following his death. Because she couldn't save her father, she couldn't save millions. But now with this chance, with this opportunity, she could turn millions lost into billions born, which would make this into a piece of joy, imperfect or not. The DNA in the ground, both human and mutant, could spark a golden age. But at the end of the day, the choice to create all of this is not Kitty, but her father's, alongside of everyone who died. So with the map and handwritten in her handwriting, both Kitty and her father look over the map. And at that moment she explains to her father that they originally thought that the first blood spilled was a reference to the Shuriar's failed genocide, but now she sees the first blood spilled was for this moment. For them trying to create Threshold, trying to create life, which is something her father likes, with the exception of one thing. And that was this map wasn't written in just her handwriting but rather theirs. As he takes her hand in his and proceeds to write along with her as he tells her, "What happened here? Happened, Kitty. But it's only over when we say it is. And knowing what we do about the people we were, we say the book's not closed, we want another chapter." So with the dead wishes being known, Kitty immediately turns and embraces her father in a deep loving hug, where all can see. So with everyone in agreement, we jump over to San Francisco where we see Sirbra attempting to save a mysterious mutant by the name of Sarah from yet another mutant. Which is weird to say, because Bushwhacker, from what I can tell, hunts other mutants for some stupid reason. But lucky for Sirbra and a Sarah backup arrived on the scene. For Psylocke and Aurora stepped in and immediately took out Bushwhacker with a psychic tripwire. So with Ezra saved, we get some info about his abilities as well as the purpose of Sirbra's interference. Now his mutant power is very limited, because his ability is to find water. Kinda like a human dowsing rod. But his current power wasn't the reason why Sirbras were there protecting him. The reason why she protected him was because as of right now his powers are limited, but it will grow with his bloodline. And in time his great-grandson will become her North Star. Decades from now, he will be an Omega-class navigator, which means he will be able to plot a course to anywhere and anything, and together they will lead the X-Men 2099 to paradise. So with Sirbras being in the past, she sees it as her duty to protect her former team members' bloodlines. So once Sarah was safe, Psylocke informs Sirbras that her help is needed in the wildest mutant circuit. Following that, we skip over to the battle between Dakin and Brimstone. And when we get there, the battle seems pretty evenly matched, until Dakin drove his claws into Brimstone's eye. So as the blood ran down his face, Brimstone yells out that his horn wasn't good enough to take, that he also wanted my eye as well. Which was partially true, because when Dakin took his eye, that was the cost of doing battle. But when Dakin took his horn, that wasn't to keep as a trophy, no. That was to create a voodoo doll. a voodoo doll that was under Johnny D's control. And just like that, Johnny handed the doll over to Dakin to do the honors. Because within seconds Dakin launched the doll in the air as Lockheed lit it aflame. So just as the doll caught fire, so did Brimstone. And just like that, Dakin has settled his score with Brimstone. So as he burned, we skip back over to Kate Pryde and her team. And when we get there, we see the mutant circuit beginning, starting with Polaris, creating an electromagnetic field. And once that is up, Cerebra adds a network that is ready to read and input genetics. Then Wicked joins in with her power of ectoplasmic medium to prep, ready to receive DNA. Then following her, we see Tempo get ready to use Temper ectoplasmic for travel. After that, Thea steps into hypercompress and enrich the ectoplasm. So with everything ready to go, a giant DNA helix emerges from the ground as the spirits of the fallen begin to circle Kate and her team. For this helix will serve as a tombstone to pay respect to those who have lost their life. Now with the stage set and the proper respects paid, Kate placed the note into the Mysterium box alongside all the ingredients required to create Threshold. So with millions of souls rushing into the box, the building blocks of life is created as it closes with a snap. Now with all the prep ready, Kate turns and takes Tempo's hand as they travel to the Proterozoic era, which was millions of years before the birth of Threshold, so that Kate can place the seed into the primordial waters of what would become Threshold. And as it sinks into the waters, the genes of all those who would come mix itself into the soup of life until thousands and thousands of years have passed, until Threshold was born, giving rise to the earliest society of mutants, for the laws of Krakoa were followed to the letter, with the birth of more mutants. So following the birth of a society, we skip over to Krakoa, where we see Kate Pryde talking to Emma Frost. Because if it wasn't for the Diamond Queen, none of this would have ever happened. So because of that, Kate decided to ask Emma what made her do this. Which Emma responds by saying, "Why else? Inspiration, a nudge, an emotional presence." Like Exodus's favorite, "As I walked in the garden, I came upon an epiphany, not my first, mind you. This was a vision I couldn't shake. For it was something that need to happen, something that need to be done," which Kate was able to pull off. For on this night, the island celebrates the achievements of the Marauders and the birth of Threshold. So with that said, this issue come to the end.